To the live premiere. This might be a long one. I'm not sure how long it's probably gonna be. Anyone remember Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3? And for those who played this game, all the memories, it's time to reminisce. It's time to put this game away, and it's now time to put this series away. I don't want it to end. I wish they would do more, but it seems like they're going different directions. They're heading towards, they're trying out new things, new IPs, new reveals. This whole year is stacked. So we got a lot to talk about for this live premiere, and I'm gonna have timestamps for the description. I wanted to try to start talking about this today, and it's not live, it's a pre-recorded video, so you guys will be able to check this out this weekend, well, sometime this weekend, and hopefully I'll be able to get it done in time. I turned down the music. I might turn it up a little bit so people can be able to hear some of the soundtrack, some of the music. The music's great. Still like that. Let's change it up. But it's all about Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3, and it's time to put an end to this series. And I feel like there's nothing else to look forward to when it comes to the Nickelodeon Kart Racers series. And this is what the video is going to be all about. It's time to bury the Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 speculation. And being open and honest, I feel like I was the only one I was really talking about the game, and I was excited to see and anticipating the game and thinking that we're probably going to end up getting a new game, and maybe some others out there were probably thinking the same thing as me, hoping that we'll probably see a new Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 come out in the near future. Maybe the 2 year cycle, the 2 year streak, the 2 year pattern, and that pattern is no more, and that's broken. That pattern has ended, and it's 2025 now, and we would have probably already had some kind of Kart Racers 4 news for this premiere. We need to start talking about the future of Nickelodeon Kart Racers, and because as many of you have noticed, the recent reveals, it's a lot of different games coming out, and the one thing I want to bring out, if people don't know already, Gamescom is starting Tuesday. Gamescom Opening Night Live is another big event, almost just as good as Summer Game Fest, but it's not going to be as big as it, I'm sure. But Gamescom also is an iconic event where you can see new reveals, you get updates, but we've already seen quite a lot of titles get revealed from Summer Game Fest and throughout this year from Surprise, even from Game Mill, and even Bamtang themselves have finally announced their new game, and we're going to be talking about that to kick this off. And I'm also going to be talking about some things that they could have done for this game, things that I was expecting to see, and so much more about characters, DLC, and so much more that has come to fruition with all these new titles, with Nickelodeon characters getting into Sonic Racing Crossroads. But it's not about Sonic. This has nothing to do with Sonic and being the cause of this, and why I believe that Kart Racers, the Nickelodeon Kart Racers series, is done. I don't think we're ever going to see another game, and I think this is the end. So I'm going to be talking about all that throughout the video, and I'm going to have timestamps for whatever portion that you guys want to listen to. If you want to stay and relax and listen in and have the video as background noise, that's completely fine too. If you want to listen to a certain portion of the video, you can go straight there from the description. Once this video is live on the channel, you can pick whichever portion you want to listen to. If you want to rewatch it and watch the replay, you can chime in about the Kart Racer series, about where you started, when did you start playing this series, and what was your favorite characters, tracks, and what would you like to see in the future if they ever were to bring it back. But I don't think they're ever going to do another Nickelodeon Kart Racers, because they've moved on. There's so many other games that's come out, and they're going in the they've gone in so many different directions, and I'm also going to be talking about that with all their recent releases. So I wanted to just dive into this for a giant video premiere and just get it out now before some of these titles start coming out, because there's so many other games to be excited for, and I'm definitely excited to play all these different games and experience all the new changes and the new direction where they seem to be headed with all these different franchises. and these new games coming out and getting announced, they're all coming out near each other. It's so much to play. It's so much to pick and choose from. It's going to be even hard to even try to juggle and try to balance everything all at once because everything is coming out so close to each other from this fall. And it's the one of the best gaming seasons where it's just a constant pattern of so many great reveals and so many games to play depending on what you like. So a lot has changed recently, and with so many new games and announcements coming out, it's become more and more clear what the future holds for this series, and that's why I'm making this video today. So it's gonna probably drag on. It's gonna be a lot to really cover, but I'm gonna try to get everything out in one video so it's not gonna go overboard. But there's timestamps for every little portion and that you guys can listen to if you want to, and you can chime in on your thoughts about this game. Maybe you didn't play it, maybe you skipped out on it, which is completely fine, and maybe you don't like playing these kind of games and you choose to play something else. That's also fine too. But everybody started somewhere when it comes to the kart racer series, or some kind of racing game that you like to play, or maybe a kart racer that you prefer. Maybe it's Mario Kart, maybe it's Crash Team Racing, maybe you're most excited for Sonic Racing Crossroads. Even if you haven't played a Sonic game before, more than likely you're probably going to end up checking that game out, and maybe something this year is going to catch your attention. It's a lot to play, and that's why I wanted to really just be able to just put emphasis on that. It's so much going on, it's so much coming out. It's just a lot. So the first thing I want to talk about is just start reacting to their newest game. Bamtang are the developers from this game, and they're the team responsible for the Nickelodeon Kart Racer series. They made and developed these games. They developed every single Nickelodeon Kart Racer. We got 3 different titles, and all 3 of them had their, you know, their pros and cons, of course, and I'm going to be talking about that later on. But this is the best game, and this is the best game in my opinion, and it has so much to offer. So I want to just get into the new announced Hot Wheels game that we have, and I turned the voices off for the characters so they won't end up saying the same thing, and it won't get a little bit repetitive, and it won't annoy you guys with some of the lines that they say, because some characters, they'll say the same thing. If you stay on a character too long, they'll go in this endless loop of their voice lines of what they'll say in the reaction. So I'm just going to leave it on the roster, and we're going to be talking about a lot of what this game contained, what happened, and things like that. So I first want to start this first portion off by reacting to the new Hot Wheels Let's Race Ultimate Speed and just share my thoughts on the game. I'm excited to play this game, and it looks great. So we finally have a brand new game announced by this team, and most of 2025 has gone by so quickly, and as of yesterday, there's a new racing game. It's called Hot Wheels Let's Race Ultimate Speed. So let's start talking about this new title. If you haven't seen it, you can check out the trailer now if you want, and maybe you aren't a Hot Wheels fan, but this is their newest title, and this is another new game that they're bringing to the table, and it seems to be another kart racing game that has nothing to do with Nickelodeon Kart Racers, and it's just another sign that they're moving on. So let's just start talking about Hot Wheels. I'm going to share my thoughts on the trailer and just what it has to offer. So Bamtang Games is the developer of this new game for Hot Wheels Let's Race Ultimate Speed. It's announced for October 24th, 2025. So it's on its way. It's not too far away. Now that we have an idea of what's next and where they're headed for the future, this tells us that the studio's focus is being directed toward a different racing IP that's different from the Nickelodeon Kart Racer series. So this is the last game that they'll end up doing for this series, and it's sad. And I wanted to see more. I wanted to see more. Maybe someone else, some of you guys might be different, where you guys wouldn't mind seeing other games. But for me, I wanted to see something more from this game because it had so much potential with all these different characters. It's 42 characters that you guys can see on the screen that you can just take in. It's 42 characters, 42 different racers that you could be able to select from in this game for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3, and even a live action character like JoJo Siwa that ended up returning from the second game. So it's just so much to just dive into. So a little bit about this Hot Wheels game, this new game that their brand new title that they're working on, and that's on its way of being released soon for October 24th. Because of this game, the chances of a fourth Nickelodeon Kart Racers title will be in competition with their own new game with Hot Wheels, because it's another separate racing game and it's going to hinder the sales. So there's no way it's going to come out this year. There's no way it's going to get any. It's just going to be another year without a Nickelodeon Kart Racers game. And I think this is the end. This is the end all be all. This is the final game that they have up their sleeve for their final plans, and they just left it for what it is. This is what you got, this is what we get, and this is all we're going to be left with for the Kart Racer series when it comes to these characters for Nickelodeon. And just being open and honest, it's a bad idea to really even try to bring out Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4, to even try to go alongside with Hot Wheels. It's two different racing games. It's gonna affect it long term, and it's not gonna really be able to sell well, because it's gonna collide with all the other racing games that's out there. But having two different racing games by the same team is just not a smart idea. So there's already been all kinds of different games that have been released from the past year and beforehand. So I'm going to be talking about their most recent games soon, but just sharing more about the Hot Wheels game for the title from what I found out from the trailer and just watching it. It looks a lot of fun. But the one thing that I didn't notice is that Hot Wheels Let's Race is from the Netflix series. It's a Netflix TV show and a TV series with three seasons on Netflix that you can go watch now. I didn't even know about this at all. So I found out this is a Netflix show that I didn't even know existed. So it's an actual animated series you can watch right now on Netflix. So just when you go and watch this trailer, this game has voice acting, which I like. It's based on the Netflix show, and I really like the gameplay because you can play as several different characters from the show itself. It also will have different modes to select from and in-game bosses for the boss showdowns. I love what the trailer showcases, and from the looks of it, it has the same six characters to play as inspired from the show. So, but unfortunately, it's not going to have online play like this game has. See how Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 has online? It has an online mode that you could be able to select from. Their newest title with Hot Wheels Let's Race Ultimate Speed is not going to be online. So the online has been stripped away from the game, and it's only going to have local 4-player split screen multiplayer. So some other things about this game, just to share and react even more about this game. It has 12 tracks. There's also going to be DLC. Now, some of y'all out here that's in here listening to this, remember how Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 had the Turbo Pack DLC? This game, for their newest title, for Hot Wheels Let's Race Ultimate Speed, this game is going to have the High Voltage Speed DLC pack. Remember how this almost sounds similar to it? Let's just bring him up. Let's go into the garage real quick. This Turbo Pack, here he is right here. Zuko was part of the Turbo Pack DLC for this game, as well as Eastman Laird Raphael for the Turbo Pack DLC. And then you also you get a little couple kart parts from the slime wheels and so much more that you could really be able to select from. And then, you know, the slime pipes and things like that was also included. And then you also get some additional characters like Shredder and Firelord Ozai that were also included for the DLC. Now it's a little bit different when it comes to the Voltage Pack. The Voltage Speed DLC pack contains new cars, tracks, and decals. From what I found out about this new DLC that's going to be added and included for this new Hot Wheels game for the newest title, it's going to have DLC, and it's just going to be separated just like they did with this game. So the Voltage Speed Pack, the one thing that stands out to me is that it's going to have new tracks. This particular DLC for this game, it didn't contain any new tracks. It didn't get any new tracks whatsoever. It just came with 2 playable new racers, and then two crew members that just wasn't necessary. We could have got a different character for him besides him. So this particular DLC for the Turbo Pack or just the Voltage Speed Pack DLC will be sold separately, and you can purchase the digital deluxe edition to get access to this for all in one purchase. Almost similar to what they did with the Turbo edition for this game. They're going a similar route. They're doing the same thing when it comes to the DLC for Hot Wheels Let's Race. So the only difference is that you're going to be able to get those additional tracks. So it's a little bit of a step up, a slight step up when it comes to the DLC. So we're getting new tracks that's going to be included if you buy the DLC. So what I don't like about this is how this game won't have any online multiplayer, but it still looks fun to play from the trailer itself. Their post-launch plan seems to already be written in the basically written in the stars, or basically already within the game itself, because the deluxe edition is already gonna contain all the DLC that you'll be able to have access to, which is the Voltage Speed Pack, meaning we will most likely won't see any additional updates for the game, because it's just going to be the same situation when it comes to Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. It's going to be the same thing over and over. So when the game comes out, it's going to be the DLC is going to be right there to really check out the new tracks, the new cars, and then the new decals. It's probably not going to get any post-launch content, just like this game is. And it was also a different game, another separate kart racing game. DreamWorks had the same scenario. So it's not going to be able to get the content that people want to see when it comes to the updates. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more from the game and from these updates, because the one thing I'm not liking, they'll just have the game come out and then they'll just let it die out. So I think Hot Wheels is going to have the same situation happen to it. It'll come out, we'll have access to the Voltage Speed DLC, and then there's probably not going to be anything else. So I think that's going to be the dilemma. That's going to be the situation when it comes to the Hot Wheels Let's Race Ultimate Speed new game. And this is the only title that they have planned for this year. So just think of Hot Wheels as the new Looney Tunes in its place, but it's another racing game or a new kart racing game that's just going to come out, and then people are going to play it for a little while. And then the fact that it doesn't have online, you're not going to really be able to have much to do and really be able to get into. But that's everything I could really be able to pick up when it comes to Hot Wheels, because this particular title, this is the newest game. This is another IP. This is another franchise, a new iconic franchise, and this is something that they want to do differently. They're moving beyond. They're moving on beyond this series. There's not going to be anything else when it comes to the Nickelodeon Kart Racers series, and it's not just about Hot Wheels that I'm getting at when I'm talking about. It's going to be a lot of other games that's going to be in its way, and it's going to hinder its chances of even coming out, because of all the things that they've done, because of all the recent releases with their announcements. They're ready to move on. They're ready to expand, and that's what they're doing. They're expanding. They're trying out new games. They're bringing new titles, and they're trying out new franchises and going in different directions, beyond a different direction, in multiple directions beyond the Nickelodeon Kart Racer series. That's why I wanted to start with that particular title, because they're gonna leave this game behind, and they already did. So those are all my thoughts and reactions when it comes to the Hot Wheels game. I just wanted to get that out there for this first portion. And now we're gonna get into what happened. What happened to this game, and what happened to this particular series? What happened to the chances of Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4? Because the timeline itself, I'm going to be talking about from all the different titles that they brought out, from the past all the way up to the present, from when this game first came out, and then what did they end up doing? Which direction did they want to go, and what did they bring out? Some people probably don't know about these titles. Some people don't even know it's just a real thing. Because I've been playing Looney Tunes, and I continue to post about the game with some of the animations and things like that. Some people didn't even know about that game. Quite a few people don't even know that game exists. They didn't even know about the game. But that just goes to show you the problem that's been a continuous issue when it comes to these kind of titles, because they'll come out and people won't know about them. because they're not getting advertised. They're not getting promoted like they're supposed to. But Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 was a whole different scenario because it was getting promoted all the way up to its release day, with these racers being able to get teased like Jimmy Neutron and Cindy, for example, to kick this off. So this next portion for this premiere, I want to start talking about all the past releases and where we're at right now. We have we have to take a look at Bamtang Games, and we have to take a look at Game Mill at this rate because there's so much that has been announced. So I did some digging, and I want to run through the timeline of the games we got after Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. And then I first want to also, just before I even get into those other games, I want to start with just how it started. How did it start when we had Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3? Because I want to get into the customization and so much more. And I'm going to be jumping in between the modes throughout this. I didn't want this to drag on really like as much as I wanted it to. I don't want it to drag on too long. Just pick any track. I'm not going to play a track. Change up the little song a little bit. But I want to start with the timeline, and I want to leave it on Jimmy Neutron and Cindy because they were some of the newest faces and some of the newest racers that we end up getting and newest reps to get involved into the series. So let's start talking about the timeline and what went on, what happened to the series, and where did they go? What directions did they go, and what did they bring out? What did they announce? What other franchises got involved, and what did they get? What did they get their hands on when it comes to the licenses and all the rights in these different franchises and IPs? So from October 2022, Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 Slime Speedway released. At this particular point, everything was normal. We were all expecting the next game to be announced around 2 years later, but we haven't seen any announcements. It's 2025 now. Where did all the time go? It's just so much that's happened. So many different games came out. So that was just the beginning for October 2022, and we started seeing these reveals with these characters when it first started coming out during the year of 2022 for its launch year, and during its launch time for this first particular timeline. Just to discuss it, Jimmy Neutron and Cindy were some of the newest racers. We got to see Susie and Chucky show up. And Susie was a character that wasn't even playable in the other Nickelodeon Kart Racers game for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 Grand Prix. She wasn't playable. We got to see all these different reveals. Squidina, the camper Patrick from Camp Coral. We got a whole load of different racers that ended up showing up and getting revealed and teased, and then we end up later finding out that Zuko was also getting involved in the race, but he was exclusively locked as a DLC character, and he wasn't going to be playable unless you paid for the DLC. We got to see all types of different characters like Odie, who did not even exist, even Garfield getting involved, who wasn't even playable. So you can really tell who was missing and who wasn't playable in the previous Nickelodeon Kart Racers game for Kart Racers 2, like Powder Toastman, for example, who was a chief. He wasn't playable, but they made a lot of different moves, and they opened up this roster to expand it even more. And we got to see all different characters like Toph to really become a playable racer, and Aang and so much more be able to show up. Aang was already playable, but they expanded around among the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. They wanted to bring more characters, so we got to see more. We got to see many more. And if you're thinking Baby Mario and Baby Luigi, we got our Baby Mario and Baby Luigi already in there, but just the best of buds, or the besties themselves, Camper SpongeBob and Patrick getting involved into the game that people didn't expect, and the Patrick Star Show getting some representation with Squidina, as well as the Chiefs and the crew members. So they did a lot for this game when it comes to the roster itself. But this was just October, just starting it off. The game exists now. The game is getting marketed, it's getting promoted, and we're getting to see and take a look at all these different playable characters that didn't exist. It's 42 characters on this screen that everyone could be able to see from this game, and this is the biggest roster. It exceeds Even our recent crossover for Nickelodeon All-Star Ball 2, you can tell that they were cooking with this game. And that's what made me so excited for this. But going on and moving on, let's move on and advance time for a little bit. Let's go on to the next year for September 2023. Less than a year later, Game Mill and Bamtang announced and released Avatar: The Last Airbender Quest for Balance that I really enjoyed, but it wasn't all that. It wasn't what I was expecting, but it was still fun to play, and I loved the RPG mechanics, the skill tree, and being able to play as other characters in the party, even seeing the alter ego like for Zuko's case, like the Blue Spirit being a playable character, which was awesome. It's a really beautiful experience. The quest Avatar: The Last Airbender Quest for Balance was a completely different genre, but it showed that the team was already busy with different licensed games and new IPs. I didn't expect to see an Avatar game at all, and I never played the others. And just get this, there was even a Legend of Korra game that came out a long time ago amongst other titles from the Avatar series that I didn't even know about. And within the same year, from November 2023, after a little bit after Quest for Balance comes out, within the same year, we got our first red flag. Game Mill and Bamtang released another kart racing game that had nothing to do with Nickelodeon. This was a completely different series. This was called DreamWorks. It was DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing that ended up putting it in, almost giving us a bad sign that they're not going to be able to get any more Nickelodeon Kart Racer games because they're ready to move on. And this was something that I was starting to suspect because it's a DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing game. This was the first time they developed a kart racer for a different brand after 3 Nickelodeon games. And I feel like this was our major sign, but I wanted to see it through to the following year to see if DreamWorks was going to end up getting a completely different game, like DreamWorks All-Star Brawl, for example, or a possible Kart Racers 4 for the following year for 2024. But we didn't get that. So I think for me, maybe some other people that's going to be listening to this, maybe some people can weigh in the chat as well if you want to. DreamWorks, I feel like was the sign that we were probably headed to a different direction. We were probably going to get something else. They were moving on. Because we had Avatar Quest for Balance came out, and then DreamWorks was out a little bit after that. So that's 2 different titles, and this is a brand new racing game. It's a brand new kart racing game. And then I was also thinking that they were going to be able to support DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing, which they didn't. And I was thinking it was going to be potential DLC joining the game, since we had a lot of missing DreamWorks animation series still missing from the game, from the roster, because it seemed a little bit small when it comes to the roster, as if they were going to do more for the game. But DreamWorks got left in the dust, and here comes September 2024, continuing this timeline of discussion, doing the research that I wanted to just bring to the table today. The pattern continues with Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports for September 2024. Another major license, another new game from Bamtang, from the developers from this team from Nickelodeon Kart Racers. Looney Tunes was their newest project. Another major license and another genre shift. So you see how we had an RPG, we had like an RPG mechanic when it comes to Quest for Balance with Avatar, and then we got another separate kart racing game when it comes to DreamWorks. Now it's a sports genre. It's a game that's focused on sports when it comes to Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports. By this year, for 2024, I thought for sure we would most likely see an announcement for Nickelodeon Kart Racers for the series. This was surprising to me because Looney Tunes was the only game in the cards for 2024, and now here we are in 2025, the big announcements of 2025 that I'm going to be able to get into. We got so much to just dive into for today. So this year, Game Mill has announced a packed fall lineup of licensed games, including racing games that would directly compete with Nickelodeon Kart Racers. If it was to come out, it just wouldn't be a good idea to drop this game this year because of all the things that has transpired with all these new games. We got multiple announcements within a short time span, and then just taking all this in, there's just no time to really try to work on a Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 or even consider it because they've already moved on with all these different titles. Let's get into these titles. And just for example, here we are in August, later this month, August 29th, a new Goosebumps game is coming out. It's called Goosebumps Terror in Little Creek. That was announced for August 29th. And then let's dive into the other titles. We got a new Nickelodeon game, but it's so different. It's not a racing game. And several of these characters are going to be involved, like Danny Phantom, for example, and we might end up seeing Jenny Wakeman and Jimmy to wrap up the roster. But we got a new Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny. That's coming out September 30th for 2025. Another new game, but this is different. It's another direction. It doesn't have anything to do with this team, but it's our Nickelodeon crossover game for this year. Nicktoons Dice of Destiny is an RPG, and it's inspired by Dungeons and Dragons. If you played it before, it's gonna play something similar to that, and it's gonna be an RPG Nicktoons game. So something completely different with these characters, and Danny Phantom's going to be involved. There's so many other characters that's involved in the game. Susie is also playable in Reptars in her moveset. It really looks like a lot of fun, and I really am excited to play this. This is something I'm looking forward to playing as well with Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny for September 30th. Now, for October 10th, a new Snoopy game was also announced recently from this week. It's called Snoopy and the Great Mystery, and the Great Mystery Club was announced. It's been forever since we've seen this kind of game. I wasn't even expecting to see some kind of Charlie Brown game show up. It's just crazy. And that's not it. That's not even it. October 24th, we got two big racing announcements, both coming out on the same day. Just take this in. I didn't even mention this from earlier. But I mentioned the release date, but there's other stuff that's coming out. Both on the same exact day, Fast and Furious Arcade Edition from Cradle Games, and then Hot Wheels Let's Race Ultimate Speed from Bamtang Games. All coming out within the same day. See what I'm talking about? That's too many titles to really even try to really fit this game in, and it just goes to show you that there's so much that they're focusing on, so many other different games and going a different direction. They're done with this series. This game is over. This series is over, and we're not going to see another Nickelodeon Kart Racer series because of all these games. And the fact that, just again, Fast and Furious Arcade Edition and Hot Wheels coming out on the same day, that's just ridiculous. That's two different racing games, and then on top of that, there's all types of other titles that's going to be coming out around those games, so it's going to cause a little bit of trouble for even trying to fit this kind of game for a Nickelodeon Kart Racers game. It's just going to cause it to, it's not going to perform well, it's not going to sell well, and people are going to skip out on it, considering all the games that's going to be out within each other, with all the additional racing games that's already going to be in existence with their new project. I think this is all the evidence we need to know that this game's chances of happening are sunk. The 2-year gap for Nickelodeon Kart Racers has long gone. It's just sad. It's just unfortunate. And for me, I wanted to see at least one more game, because I feel like we could have had more. But I'm going to be talking about that in just a little bit. But this is just all the games I just mentioned from all those new releases, and I'm not even talking about all those other games that's already been announced: Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, Silent Hill, Ghosts of Yotei, TMNT The Last Ronin, if that comes out by some chance, and if that exists at some point, with all these other games that's coming out that people are going to be excited for. Garfield Kart 2, I didn't even mention that game. That's another game, but that's from Microids. That's a completely different team that's going to be bringing that game out. That comes out September 10th from next month. That's not too far away. That's another racing game. And Garfield's another Nickelodeon character, of course, but it's just so much that's come out, and so many different games that they're bringing out. It just doesn't make you think of Nickelodeon Kart Racers anymore. This game is over. This series is over. The 2-year gap for Nickelodeon Kart Racers has long gone, and when you look at this pat timeline of new licensed IPs and new racing games, it just goes to show you that the focus has completely shifted. That's what I'm making this videos for today. The focus has completely shifted, and they have a lot of other games that they're coming out with, and games and characters like Garfield that y'all see on the game on the screen. They're gonna have their own racing game alongside of their new title for Bamtang, for the developers of Nickelodeon Kart Racers. They already have another racing game, so that's that. And then on top of that, Paw Patrol is coming out. That also is another racing game. It's just too many. There's too many racing games coming out, and not even just that. It's a lot of other games that they're focused on with all these new franchises getting involved with their new titles. So that's why I think this game is over. This game has already went on and died out because no one else is playing this game. And if you are lucky enough to find people playing this game, by some chance, they're probably one of the players or one of the newest people that decided to recently pick up this game. You try to get into a match and try to matchmate, you're not going to be able to find many people. And if I do, by some chance, they're not going to be able to stay. And if you want to try to get some characters unlocked and things like that, there's so much going on. And let's just put in a character that, since that's probably going to get revealed for the new Nickelodeon crossover series, like Jenny, for example. Let's just put her in anything. You're going to get into this game. Somebody playing this game. I haven't seen this player at all. But if you think I'm going to stay in this lobby, he got another thing coming. But anyway, it's just so much stuff. He's probably trying to get some online wins, but he's not going to be able to get none. Because guess what? This game has too many problems online. It's so many things that hasn't been addressed. And this is just an example. But this is what you get. That's what's left for this kart racer series. I'm not going to race against them. I'm not going to stay in this lobby so I don't get locked in. But it just goes to show you. It's just with all this kind of things, with all the things that they got going on, they're focused on other games. This game is over and done with. It's dead. The Kart Racer series, I think, is done, and it's done. It's gone forever. I don't even think we're gonna be able to see one. I'll be surprised if they do bring one out. But look how long it's been, and look at all these games I just went through and I just named. I didn't even name all the other games that's coming out around September, October, and November. There's so many. It's just too many to get into. This can drag on for hours. There's so many good games that's coming out. There's so many games that's releasing near each other. It's just a lot to be excited for, and a great time to be a gamer when it comes to exploring all things that's new. But I bet you that player that was in there, he's probably trying to get his last minute wins, and he didn't even finish. He didn't even get that fourth star, that blue star. He didn't even get that. He didn't even get that difficulty because he hasn't completed the insane difficulty yet. But I bet you he's trying to get the rest of his online wins. But he has to win and get to the finish line before I do to even have a ghost of a chance to even try to get closer to getting some of these characters unlocked and whatever else that he's looking for. So it's just unfortunate. So that's all the evidence that I wanted to touch upon when it comes to all the different games that they announced from this publisher and from this particular dev team. They're moving on. It's just evident. So this final portion, I want to talk about the missed opportunities and the future characters that we lost, and just how this series could have kept going on and on. It could have grew. We probably wouldn't even need a Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4. And just seeing all this stuff, you see that one player, he's stuck. And he probably got excited to see me get into the lobby because, hey, he's probably been looking for someone to play with and match up with. Who knows how long he's been sitting in that lobby. He could have been sitting there for a good half hour or longer trying to find someone to play and try to hope that they stay. That's another double-edged sword, because when you run into someone in the game, they have to stay in the lobby, and you have to have an opponent to race against to really be able to have a chance to rack up wins when it comes to this game. And that's something that they did wrong. But for this particular portion, the missed opportunities for this game, for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3, it's just endless. It's all types of stuff that they could have did, and I'm going to be bringing up different modes. We could have had some additional characters. I want to just bring up, let's just go to the garage. I want to bring up the roster to start this final portion off for the premiere. This series growth, I want to start with this because Nickelodeon, I was gonna say Nickelodeon Slime Speedway, almost similar thing. Nickelodeon Kart Racers, Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 Slime Speedway was the best game in the series. And as someone, for me, as someone who started playing this series very late compared to everyone else who probably played these games during the launch days, all three games had something different about them when I experienced them. And I think Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 is the best of them all because of this large roster. And that's what I want people to see and focus on, because it has so many different things to offer. But see all the customization options, it's just so much to just really just explore, to unlock. Not all this stuff is going to be available. They're not going to be available. And what I like, they implemented bikes. Look, it's SJ9 scooter, the XJ scooter that's involved into the game. You can ride a bike. You can even do a hover car or a hoverboard, as they say as it shows on the screen. It's something completely different. It just shows you all the different unique creativity and the direction where they were going when it comes to this game. I just kind of wish that there was going to be a little bit more to be able to be added into the game for characters and so much more. And then just take a look at the chiefs and the crew members. I'm going to get into that in just a little bit. So I just want to start making the differences and just spotting doing the compare and contrast when it comes to all three Nickelodeon Kart Racers games in a nutshell, just real quick for this portion, because I play all three. Yeah, I played them late compared to everybody else, but I own all three games, and I got to experience them, and I got to complete each and every one of these games from the Nickelodeon Kart Racers series all in full, and be able to spot the differences and the changes that they made for these games. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 1, just to start this off, it had a ridiculously small roster. It was nothing like this. And just when you go and check this out, and just take a look, let's put on one of the Ninja Turtles, for example. The roster was really short. It was really small for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 1 for the first game. Everyone was unlocked at the start. Shows like SpongeBob, TMNT, Hey Arnold, and the Rugrats were in the game. The music of the tracks was the same. The music of the tracks almost sounded the same. You had Arnold and Helga as playable characters to represent Hey Arnold. Gerald didn't even exist. He wasn't even a playable character until the second game. But we only had Harold and we had Arnold and Helga, the four Ninja Turtles, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy. And then on top of that, for Rugrats, we only had Tommy and Angelica. And we also had Reptar. So those were the three characters to represent the Rugrats series. So it was just that small roster. No one else got in. So the music from the first game, it just sounded the same, besides the music of the track sounded nearly the same, besides the catchy menu music that I loved, along with the unique special weapon item, the unique special weapons and the items each character had from their own abilities to give you some kind of advantage. That's something that I really liked from the Kart Racer series for the first game. Even, for example, Arnold's pigeons was basically like an autopilot. So once you get lucky enough to pull them from the item box, you'll be able to hit that autopilot where it can just take you where you were supposed to go on the track, and you wouldn't have to press anything. It'll be on autopilot, and you get a massive speed boost. And then on top of that, there were other characters like Angelica. Angelica's chocolate chip cookies were 3 separate boosts for each cookie that you choose to eat, and so much more. Like Leonardo and Mikey had their own. Leonardo and Raphael had a size. The TMNT had their own unique weapons, like Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Mikey with his nunchucks. They were able to use their weapons, and Donatello with his technical genius, or with his machines and stuff like that, with his invention, to really be able to give him an advantage, to really be able to attack other racers and to stun and slow down other opponents on the track. It was very well done. And then Raphael's size would give him some kind of protection, and he would be able to stun people that were near him, and he would be able to protect them. So it was all kinds of stuff that they had for the Kart Racer series. Moving on to the second game, I think it had the better AI, because it was way much more difficult to win from the CPU being able to catch up quickly and the crazy timing with the jellyfish being able to stop you every single time to slow you down. The roster was much better, and we even had a live action character join in to first make her debut as like JoJo Siwa making her debut in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2, and then she also came back for the third game, but she doesn't even have voice lines compared to everybody else that's in the game. I don't know what happened when it comes to that. But when the second game, it introduced us the first challenges, and that's what I want to bring up. It introduced the challenges. So with the missed opportunities, we could have had so much more when it comes to the challenges. See the challenges on the screen? This Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 started that, where these challenges had to be completed, and you were able to unlock different crew members. You were able to unlock different rewards and cart parts, and also take on a boss to be able to unlock a new character. So it was the same amount of bosses as Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. As you can see, it's 6 different bosses that you could be able to run into with Squidward, April, Oblina, Genie Wakeman, Gerald, and Potter Toastman. There were so many other characters that you could really be able to run into, but it was completely different from Kart Racers 2 because not all the same characters were playable, and they did not return for this game as a playable racer. So this was also where we got to see these new pit crew mechanics added in with additional shows like Cat Dog, The Loud House, Ren and Stimpy, and Invader Zim, and so much more that got added into the second game to make it a more improved roster. But the roster in the first 2 games doesn't even stand. It doesn't even hold a candle to this game because of all the different variety, and just the character models looks great when it comes to these characters. The characters look really well done. So Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 had all the potential in the world. It was a much bigger game, as I mentioned, and just talking about these characters that I'm gonna really just get into right now, for just to wrap this up. There's so many other characters that could have been in this game. I wish there was so much more. The game is so much fun to play, and just being able to just jump into it. I'm almost tempted to play a race, but I don't want to run out of time. But just to wrap this up, the characters, just 42 playable racers, is just the biggest roster ever. It exceeds Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. It exceeds all the other Nickelodeon crossover games that we ever had, that's ever existed. This is the biggest roster ever that they ever made, and this is just a racing game. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 1 and 2 is a platform fighting game. This game destroys the roster when it comes to all the different choices and the variety of choices that you can do and pick and choose from, besides these two, because they're just skins, they're color palette swaps, they're just clones with no difference, because they're just a different color. And I think that was just a major mistake when it comes to this. So the roster itself, I was excited just seeing all the way they promoted. I was happy to see Jimmy Neutron. I like his character model. Cindy Vortex being into the game, because these characters didn't even exist. They didn't have Jimmy Neutron in these other games. Jimmy Neutron was supposed to be in the other crossover game from the first All-Star Brawl, but he didn't make it in until the sequel, years later down the road. But this roster is just phenomenal. I really like this roster. The only thing that I have a problem with when it comes to this roster, being honest, is Eastman, Laird, Raphael, and Purple Reptar. We could have got other characters to replace them, but even if the fact that they got in, it's too late now. Look at the slots. See the empty space between Garfield and Odie just below them? Just from this column? This column, it could have been 2 other characters that could have showed up later on. That's why I had a feeling that it was going to probably be some DLC. We could have gotten so much more. I was just so excited to see this game and play it, and plus it had online, how it was advertised on Twitter with the racer reveals. Everything was just so well done, and just being able to see just to get a teaser, and I even just remember it as if it was yesterday. They had Stimpy in the feed with his cart ready to race, just excited. See his little animations just going bonkers. They had his animation. They were scrolling through the wheels. They were scrolling through the customization options to really tease the fans and really be able to get us excited about all the variety and the endless amount of different variety of combinations, the the number of combinations and the variety of customization options that this game had to offer when it comes to the exhaust pipes, the wheels, the paint jobs, and so much more. It looked very well done. And then just seeing how we were able to just be able to race on a bike, you could put Stimpy on a bike, change up your wheels, add a little bit of Ren and Stimpy vibes when it comes to the logs and things like that. You could throw it in and mix it in with something from like the Ghost exhaust from Danny Phantom, a Ren and Stimpy Danny Phantom combination, and then I'm on an Appa bike, so I got 3 different shows. I can mix it in. I can get on the Appa bike. Johnny 13, who's a villain from Danny Phantom. It's awesome to see this stuff. So see how it's just a little look. It's 8, 9. It's 10 bytes. It's 10 bytes. See all that space? See all that empty space? That's all the potential. That's missing potential. That's missing updates that could have been added into this game. That's extended content to go on for months on end from other shows. You could do a little TMNT. Let's get on Appa. Yip. So I got Avatar. Let's just take this in. Let me take the paint off. Look at this combination that I just set up. This is what I loved about this game. The potential is there for even more combinations for other shows. I got Danny Phantom. I got 3 different shows. I got Danny Phantom. I got Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then I got Ren and Stimpy, 3 different Nicktoons shows, all in one combination, ready to race. And then if I want to go a little bit extra, I can even paint it up by adding Jimmy Neutron's custom paint. Going Ultra Lord if I feel like it. Hey Arnold. So I could do like a combination of 4 different shows playing as a different character with a combination of 3 different shows. With whether I choose to race with a bike, or if I want to use a cart, or race in the cart, I can mix it up. I can be in the fencing cart, the nap time cart, Cat Dog's Fish and Bone Racer, the spaceship from the Space Cadets from Ren and Stimpy. I could take Jimmy Neutron's rocket and take it for a spin. You know what I mean? It's just so much stuff. That's the potential. And it could have been so much more than this. It just didn't have to stop here. And that's why I was so excited for this game for what it could have became. All the potential with all these characters and this new combination. Let's bring up the chiefs and the crew members to wrap this up. Look at these crew members. Angelica got cut. See what's going on with the quality of life. See Ren and Stimpy. He's floating. He just tapped into his inner ghost powers. He got a little bit of Danny Phantom within him. So he a ghost now. Look at him. He's just floating. But that's some of the things that could have got addressed. We didn't get hardly any updates for this game to take care of these problems. We didn't get nothing to really be able to solve some of this stuff and get some of our questions answered. Because some of these characters were a lot online where you had to grind so much. That was just a big fault when it comes to this game with the online grind. That was a major problem. And just the glitches, this is just something that continues to happen now. They're not going to come back to this game and patch it. It's just too late. But see the wide variety of characters? We got Gary, we got Mrs. Puff. Some of these characters weren't even around. Like Dirty Bubble and some of the other characters from the other games, like Shredder, he was a playable character, but things changed. We got to see a little bit more of the Loud House. We even got Clyde, one of the McBrides from Clyde's family. We got the Fire Lord. We got the leader, the ruler of the Fire Nation, Fire Lord Ozai as DLC. It just shows you all the different combinations. They were even thinking about adding Carl, Judy, and Hugh Neutron early in the game. It just shows you the level of creativity. The Snorch, Nermal. Some of these characters weren't even around at the time. So they really beat this up. There's so much to unlock. You cannot, all these characters are not going to be available when you start playing this game. You have to win and you have to grind in the arena. You have to win successfully in the time trials. You have to be able to win. That's what matters in this game. And that's why I think that's what went wrong. That's the major thing that went wrong with this game. And that's probably why most people just stopped playing the game. But then again, there was nothing else to look forward to when it comes to new characters and new racers. Because we only ended up getting Zuko, we only ended up getting Zuko and Ismail Raphael, there wasn't much to really get into. There was nothing else. It was just Left 4 Dead. Once it came out, they just left it for what it is. There's nothing else. No new cards, nothing. And we're just stuck with this game forever at this rate. And there's not going to be another one. As much as I would love to see one, but they've moved on. There's so many other games coming out. See, I just did this combination with Azula, a little bit of Asami, a little bit of Fire Nation Saint vibes. It just looks great. It's a nice combination. It's so much that they could have done with this game. So I'm just really disappointed in seeing this. They could have had more characters. All the potential was there. They did a really good job just promoting this game, but they just did it all the way up to its release, and they just disappeared. They just stopped talking about the game, and the Twitter page is just nowhere to really be able to have anything new. A lot of people were expecting a lot of content from this game. This went on longer than I already expected it to go a little bit longer. But just the last few minutes, these last 5 minutes, I'm just gonna say everything I want to say. What they could have did was add new challenges. They could have added so much more. I'm gonna go back into the challenges. They could have added so much more tracks. We could have got new tracks. We could have got so much more. We could have gotten additional we could have got a new boss. And when I'm talking about new bosses with new challenges to close out these final few minutes, we could have had some all new bosses to represent. See how you got Power Toast Man? My ideas for Family Odd Parents that I want to just talk about real quick is that since we have Timmy Turner finally in Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny, see the difference? Those doors open. So we could have had Timmy show up in the Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 game. He would have been up in there. We could have had Cosmo and Wanda as chiefs. See how they add these? Dr. Stockman is a crew member. But they could have had, for my idea, I would have had several challenges that are dedicated to Fairly Odd Parents for Fairly Odd Parents characters. So characters like Mr. Crocker, or I'll just say Cosmo and Wanda, for example, to kick this off. Cosmo and Wanda for this idea could have been chiefs. They could have been chiefs. And then some other Fairly Odd Parents characters like Timmy's friends, Chester and AJ, they could have been crew members. Mr. Crocker could be a chief if he's not a playable racer. Vicky could have been a chief within herself. Some of those other characters, Crimson Chin could have also been a chief, and they could have did some little funny stuff for a little bit of jokes, jokes and the memes and things like that. Add in Super Toilet or Super Bike, for example, as a crew member. That would have been funny, but that's the creativity. That's the level of potential. That's the kind of characters I would have been picking from the Fairly Odd Parents. Trixie Tang, for example, could have been showing up as a playable racer and things like that. They could have been expanding. It's not just about the Fairly Odd Parents. It's the fact that this game could have had a whole bunch of different characters that could have got in. And you see how, just look at the bottom of the screen, it's only 6 characters, it's 6 bosses, but they could have been expanding, and where the challenges can be dedicated to that particular show, and then you can take on Timmy Turner and unlock him as a new character for paid DLC. You pay for the DLC, you unlock a new set of challenges that you can play to be able to unlock, to have enough, well, you complete a certain amount of set of challenges to be able to unlock that particular character. They could have did it for Tough Puppy, Fairly Odd Parents, Chalk Zone, Mighty B. And it just goes on and on. Think about some of those other classics that's still missing. The Angry Beavers. See how some of those characters got in? Those new reps from Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. Ember got in. The Angry Beavers, El Tigre. All those other shows could have got in for a brand new Kart Racers game. They could have also got into this game. We wouldn't even probably need a Kart Racers 4. Kart Racers 3 could have kept going with all the lists of tracks. All these different worlds could have got in. And I just only wish that they really just kept their foot on the gas pedal. And that's something else that's bothering me about these titles. And I think it's going to happen to Hot Wheels also. And I don't want to take that shot, but it's just the same thing. That Voltage Pack DLC is going to be, it's going to be the same thing. It's the Turbo Pack DLC all over again. It's the Rally Pack from DreamWorks all over again. But this time, the only difference is that it's going to include the new tracks, because these DLCs from these other racing games that they came out with didn't have new tracks. But just to close this out, I have fun playing this game, and I'm definitely excited. I'm excited for the new games, and I'm happy for them to move forward, to continue to come out with new games and new titles, and continue to branch out, because I like seeing different things. But I just wish that they had a little bit more left in the tank to put into this game when they already had a giant roster of characters that they could have added. So it's just unfortunate. So let me know what you guys think. But I'm excited for all the new games that they have coming out, and wherever direction that they go. I'm excited for Hot Wheels. I'm definitely going to be playing that game along with Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny. You can just tell that they moved on, and we could have already probably had a fourth game by now, but they decided to move on considering the evidence of all those different titles, and they're ready to move forward. It's just unfortunate, but I'm still excited to dive into all their new games that they have left to offer, and even with the future holds.